So I know at this point I would usually split them into two separate videos, but a issue with audio resulted in a complete audio corruption. So I'm compressing Reset and Eververse once again. So to keep things light and as information as possible, Iron Banner is obviously back with two new offerings, the first being Extended High Impact Frame Auto Rifle, which one of these roles being of course the thing that of look, keep away, target lock, and there's a few others, Dynamic Sway, tap the trigger can be together in case you're looking for a more Crucible roll, but it does have Hatchling and a variety of other perks for the PvE crowd. And Reese Walker, it does have surplus, things like Slide Shot and the like in the first column, Quick Draw, or not Quick Draw, Opening Shot and Fragile Focus and a few others, Vorpal and maybe Adagio, but at the same time, they are still back and probably not as lacking. And another new thing to Iron Banner, of course, is a new emblem and likely a new shader to go along with it. On that same note, they did introduce a few ornaments from year one, so if you did not collect some of these ornaments back then, or just didn't have them unlocked for any sort of reason, you can now claim these with 3 Iron Engrams and 10k Glimmer. Moving on to other things. Now, of course, strikes are still at a point where there is no Grandmasters, so there is just a weapon, and the weapon for this week is actually the Loaded Question Fusion Rifle, which honestly, at this point, it may not be exactly worth it in its base version. Sure, you can get a good set of perks, but it seems like the Adept bonuses is what makes it truly better than possibly the rest. And on that same note as well, the strike for grinding this week is actually Birthplace of the Vile in the Throne World, which isn't the hardest one, but at the same time, it is still a little bit challenging. Master mode, of course, you have things like attrition to deal with, Void Threat, and Overload and Unstoppable Champions. Plus, it's all Scorn, and they're just generally a pain in the butt. But then we have the usual seasonal overcharge, as well as Strand, Solar, and Fusion Rifle bonuses, so plan accordingly. But on that same note, Gambit, nothing new going there. Once again, Crucible is active with Iron Banner, which this mode is Iron Banner Tribute, which is basically enemies die, collect crests, aka tags, and you deposit them at Cabal Beacons, which is basically just that mode from Call of Duty or Bounty Hunt from Titanfall. And of course, the hunt is achieved when you collect the maximum deposit achieved at a beacon, and of course there will be a high value bonus area. It's sort of like Fortress, except it is required to gain enemy kills as opposed to just standing in a zone. And for rotation things, we have Showdown for 3v3 quick play, Relic mode for 6v6 labs, Clash for 6v6 quick play, and then just the usual competitive lists. But then getting into a brunt of the rest of the seasonal stuff, seasonal challenges right off the bat, we have Wish Seeker 2, which is basically Seasonal Story Week 2. Inner Fires for getting Solar, Void, or Strand Final Blows, bonus progression for subclass relevancy. Then we have Foes of the Dragon Taken for completing various pathways in the Coil or Riven's Lair, and defeating Taken anywhere in the system, bonus progress of those activities. Dragon's Defender 2 for getting Final Blows with shotguns or bows, bonus progress in Riven's Lair or the Coil. Stunning Champions times 50, absolutely stunning. The Sun Spire, which is defeating Guardians in the Crucible with solar damage. It doesn't specify Gambit, so I wouldn't expect it to work. And then Precision Calibration for calibrating marksman weapons, scout rifles, sniper rifles, and laser fusion rifles by landing precision final blows. Bonus progress against Guardians as usual. And with the season, of course, there is an additional thing that is rotating out with new stuff, and that is the Pathways of the Coil, as we learn. So we have the Sensorium in the Pavilion, First Steps, the Cell of the Sycophant, and then we have the Dividing Hall, and then Sensorium again with the Reaver's Orison, which I don't know just yet what all those bosses mean, or if we've even seen them all, so keep in mind for that. But as well, in the Coil, we have Void Threat, Overcharge Glaive, Overcharge Machine Gun, and then Attrition, a variety of other perks, and as usual, the Coil in its way. Then I imagine we'll get an update to Riven's Lair sometime soon. But getting into other things, farming mission this week. The exotic farming mission is Presage, which means Season 17 rewards, and Dead Man's Tale is available to earn in case you haven't just yet. Then for our current up-to-date raid, we have Crota's End for All for One, which is Crota Challenge. And Master Mode comes with Recovery-focused armor, in addition to Strand and Solar Surge and Overcharge Glaive. So maybe bully him with a Glaive this time, because if I recall, they just did get a buff, maybe. And then, in terms of our farming dungeon and raids, the dungeon is actually Spire of the Watcher, which was not too long ago. If you want to get Hierarchy of Needs or looking for Artifice Armor, this is probably the worst one to farm for Artifice Armor. Just in general, Grasp of Avarice will always be best. but at the same time, Strand and Solar Surge as usual, and Overcharge Machine Gun for the Master Mode. Then, in terms of farming dungeon, it is currently Garden of Salvation, which is probably the one that is least worth farming. Sure, all challenges, sure, you can go for all the seal at once, technically, but at the same time, no farmable exotic, and just random farmable weapons that aren't even craftable or current. So, farm if you dare. But then in terms of rotation raids and everything, Last Wish is currently the Keep Out challenge. Moving on to the Europa, because Garden of Salvation is already there. Deepstone Crypt is the Core 4, which is Tanic's challenge. Final encounter challenge. For Val Disciple is currently base information, which if I recall is Caretaker challenge, but it's hard to remember a little bit. That is one I did not do that often. And for Neomuna, for Root of Nightmares, it is Illuminated Torment challenge, aka First Encounter challenge, which is basically Snooze Fest. Then, in terms of our farming, or our legacy stuffs, for Vault of Glass, we have Ensemble's Refrain, aka, not Oryx, that's the wrong one, Atheon Challenge. And then for King's Fall, we have Under Construction, which I forget which of this challenge is. I want to say it's Daughter's Checkpoint, or Daughter's Challenge. But on that same note as well, I'm thinking if I skipped anything. Neomuna in its rotations, our current farming weekly mission is the first mission in the Lightfall campaign. Perfect, because it's actually kind of short, and it's really good to farm out alloys if you need a source. And then we have the Vex Incursion Zone and the Zephyr Concourse, which is, of course, partition in the back door. And from that point, if you didn't know, there is actually new Veil Containment audio. Then, in terms of the rest of the seasonal stuff, for Eternity, we have, for seasonal version, Cabal, Taken, and Crota for Legend Mode Tears of Eternity, and I think I am not missing anything else in terms of the world just immediately. And then, just to keep everything short and brief, I will actually say out what they are in case you've been hunting them, but Valkyrie Zero, Kairos Bronze, and War Cult Endgame is what is available at Ada. If you wish to search them up or want to see what they are, go for it. That is the names. And then in terms of Banshee, we have Lunalata 4B, a stasis lightweight framed viced bow. Pretty solid. It is good for stasis builds, although still lowest damage bow per shot. Aura Vandal FR6, which is a solid high impact frames fusion rifle that was very good endgame wise. This would literally be the perfect endgame roll if they didn't nerf Chill Clip and make it more overload and harder to control. Dire Promise in its possibly best Crucible roll ever, snapshot under pressure and a variety of other things. And then we have Peace of Mind, a rapid-fire frame kinetic pulse rifle from Season of the Risen. Is craftable, though, so if you want a better roll, just go ahead and put a few deep sights through it. Then we have Code Duello, which is a rocket launcher that will not load because of a bug, but it is a pretty solid one if you need a temporary rocket, in case you somehow don't have a better rocket than this. On that same note, like I said before, I had 2 videos that got corrupted, and I kind of just ran out of the patience, so I am skipping to the Eververse update here as well. Now, we have a few things right up the front. Welded Brass, a shader from Season of the Undying. It's one that's really good for any void look. And we also have Spark of Joy, which is a quite bright but not obnoxious white and pink look. Then we also have the Cannon Fodder Transmat, which is one of those ones that has appeared so many times in the store. I can't believe people still need it. Then the Logic, which is a hive theme for the sword known as the Lament, aka the Sword Logic Ornament. Then we also have the Bug Catching emote, which is basically just this a lot until you eventually give up. On that same note, going into the main stuff of the Bright Dust, Flare for shaders in Transmats Iridescent Coral, which is a bright, pearlescent, shiny one for somebody who wants to look like coral. And then we also have Time Honored, which is a shader that is quite the opposite in a dull, earth tone, worn down look. And then we also have Heat Shielded, which is a nice white and orange, looks like an astronaut, but also your impossible to burn look. And we also have Grounding Guilt, which growing, wow, that was the wrong word, which looks like the old shaders from that spring event that never came back again. And then for Transmats, we have Vex Invasions, which is basically that. And then we also have the Reef Shimmer, which is basically a purple glow. And then we also have the Vitreous Entrance, which is the Vex Invasion, but instead it also has a Vault of Glass ornament on it. Then for our main ticket items, we have the Boosted Backflip, which is a quite simple one of those and nothing else. And for the magic wand, it's perfect in case you want to just actually prevent your ability being anyone. And then we also have the kit shell from Season Defiance, which is a basic put together children's toy or children's builder set look. Then we also have the bipestinate. I think I messed this one up, the first one. This ship, which is basically the Lucent Moth look for it. And we also have the Sekhmet rig, which I don't know what this was themed is. It doesn't look that bad. I think it might be an Indiana Jones one. I can't exactly tell officially. But then we also have the Dancing Harlequin, which, if you were paying close attention, this is one thing that sparks a debate of mine. In that I love this ornament, but I don't exactly like the color. It's not that I just hate pink, I just don't like that look in my face. And I go back over here to show you why it annoys me. Because shaders work on exotics. If you can see my sweet business here, the ornament on it is a black. If you were paying attention, it actually did change with every shader that we saw. Which, shaders work on exotics. Bungie just doesn't let us use them. Which, I, for the longest time, don't understand why. Now, I like the ornament, I like the model, I just hate the color, wish I could get past it. Then we also have the basic ghost projection that is at the end of every Eververse store. Now, that is the reset. Of course, like always, the week will continue. Iron Banner is here for a full week, so do that while you can if you wish to. Same with the Eververse store. If you want something for Bright Dust, it is available for Bright Dust for the next week. If it rotates out, you'll need silver, or you'll have to wait a whole season, or just until it comes around again, if it ever does. On that note, my name is Matt Scorpion. I'll see you in the next video.